Welcome back to another episode of the Rational Football League Show. My name is Emmett Swarat. I'm here with my co-host, Brendyn Ford.
What's up, y'all?
You guys can find us on YouTube, Spotify, TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. We are the podcast for rational fans who want rational takes. A couple cool things we're going to discuss. There's been a lot of news. We're going to talk a little bit later about how we want to rebuild the Carolina Panthers. For those of us that regularly watch us, the format will look a little different. There's a lot of news that dropped this week, as well as playoffs going on. So our game picks are going to be a lot longer too. So just to keep things on track, we are going to be condensing a little bit for this week. Next week, we'll be back to our regularly scheduled programming. But with that, we're going to start off with our news of the week, starting off with some of the big news from today that just happened. The Washington Commanders are finally looking like a competent team, B. They have hired 49ers assistant GM, Adam Peters, to be their new general manager. I'm saying general manager right now. I don't know if the title has been decided on general manager or president of football operations. So I'm saying general manager right now, but that could be subject to change. He's been the big name hire, front office hire for the last 3 seasons. He's helped rebuild the 49ers roster since 2017. He's been there helping with hiring, bringing in George Kittle and Fred Warner and all the other late round picks that the 49ers love, Brock Purdy. What do you think of the hire, B?
Yeah, I think Washington killed it, man. I think this is like a home run hire. I think this kind of starts the ball rolling the right way here. Obviously, when you get someone that's one of the best, programs right now, that's a huge get. And I know he was very vital to that 49ers franchise. So no, this is great. I'm eager to see who they get for a head coach now. And then future quarterback and whatnot. But no, dude, this is going the right direction for them. If I'm a fan of that team, I am stoked.
Oh, yeah, you have to feel good. I know 49ers fans and beat writers are pretty sad about the loss of him. I know they've been trying to hope and pray that the 49ers are going to find a way to finagle his title to keep him. But it did also kind of feel inevitable that he was going to find an opportunity that he really liked. So for him to pick Washington really does speak volumes about that program and the turnaround that's happening there. So I feel like there's going to be good things on the horizon for Washington. Speaking of good things going into the horizon, Nick Saban has retired from Alabama. The Big Bad Wolf is here no more. And to follow up, Bama has already hired a new Big Bad Wolf and former Washington head coach Kalen DeBoer. I've been a huge proponent of Kalen this whole season. I know we did our video on Washington before the season, projecting to be a top 4 team. He's been a rock star everywhere he's gone. I think his record's 102 wins to 27 losses in his entire college career. Again, a lot of those do come from Sioux Falls, which is an NAIA, where he won a lot of national championships down there. But immediately season 1 with Washington took them to 11-2. This season, second season with Washington, took him to the national championship. I have high expectations for what he's going to do at a program like Alabama. But B, what are your thoughts on it?
No, man, same here. I know we posted on the Twitter account a few times about this hire, and people were kind of hating on it. Oh, he's going to do bad in the SEC, blah, blah, blah. But this guy wins wherever he goes. I know you just mentioned that NAIA school. He turned around Washington super damn fast. This dude's been climbing crazy the past 5 years. So if I'm Bama, I am stoked. You're getting a winner. You're getting a leader of men. And there's tangible data that shows that he's a good ass coach. So again, I don't know, obviously Saban's the GOAT, the greatest college football coach of all time. So I don't know exactly if Kalen will go on the run that Saban had per se, but I do expect Bama still be there year after year after year. As one of the best teams.
Yeah, and Nick Saban will still be around the program. From my understanding, he's going to still have an office there. He's going to help out, but he is done being the guy in charge there. And I want to include a couple last little points about Kalen. So he went from Sioux Falls. He started then taking coordinator positions at bigger universities, coordinator, quarterback coach, whatever. He got his big head start opportunity at Fresno State. Took over about midway through the year, led them to, I think it was a 3-3 record. And then the next season immediately took him to 9-3. From there, Washington immediately called him and wanted him. So in one season, he kind of turned around the Fresno State program, had a good record with them, to then being at Washington. And Washington, I want to make sure that, hey, it wasn't like, hey, this dude was being handed a golden job. Washington already had talent and was just needing somebody. Washington went 4-8 the year before he got there. I think they were 12th or 11th in the Pac-12 based on record. So it wasn't like it was just a gimme of a talented roster that he just was inherited. Like he went there and built it up.
And can I say one more note off that point too? I know that this is like the first season we really like dug in deep with Washington, and but like from a betting standpoint, when we were going over their like weekly games, they were underdogs a lot throughout the season, and they won every single game. So it kind of speaks volume too when like Vegas like, oh yeah, Washington's gonna lose to Oregon by 9 points and end up smacking them. Like, oh shit, okay, right. So I think it kind of shows that like he prepares his team the right way. Kind of blocks out like noise too. And yeah, I mean, I don't know if people can hate on this hire, honestly. I think people kind of maybe like they're non-Bama fans, like Georgia fans, is talking shit, whatever. But I really like this hire. I think it makes sense. He's a rising coach, and he's going to just do like well there, I think.
Yeah, I think the biggest concerns I heard is, oh, he's from the West Coast, and West coaches don't usually do too well in the SEC, which I don't know how much credibility that really has. I think a lot of people are just concerned about, losing Saban. I know there's a lot of Georgia fans, like you mentioned, that are preying on the downfall, and Auburn fans that are preying on the downfall of Alabama, are really hoping that now that, the Godfather is gone, hopefully that they have their opportunity to rise, just for to come up with this kind of a hire that might be great for the program and be a continuation of the dynasty they had. And I want to include a couple last little parts of this as well. I mean, 4 years going from Fresno State to being the head coach of Alabama is a wild rise. I do want to include that as well. And there was a question also, I don't remember who I think it was Brett Nolman, who asked, well, why did this guy even take this opportunity? Anyway, if you're already comfortable in Washington, you're getting paid a lot, you had all the freedom to do this and that, why have to now go follow in the shadow of Nick Saban? Like, you're going to have immense pressure immediately. To which my kind of thought is, well, maybe it's because there was something we didn't see going on at Washington behind the closed doors. Obviously, Washington, for whatever reason, Washington just does not get the media attention they should. Like, it was blowing people away how well Washington did this year. But to me and you, we looked into their numbers going into the year and we're like, yeah, no shit. They went 11-2. They had a 4,000-yard passer. They had 3 1,000-yard receivers the year before. Course they're going to be a top team. But to everyone else, it was an unknown. It was a wild out of nowhere. And just like with this guy, Kalen DeBoer, no one had heard of him. They're like, well, who is this guy? And it's like, well, yeah, if you'd gone back and looked at his fucking record, it would have been like, yes, of course this guy's going to be a head coach of a big program. So I think there's just a media blind spot to Washington, which may be beneficial to us. We could probably exploit by keeping our thumb to what's going on over there. But maybe I did see some complaints about his recruitment wasn't like, I think his recruiting classes were only top 15 or something like that, or like top whatever it was in the Pac-12. So I had heard some concerns about his ability to actually recruit. He was more of a transfer kind of guy. And I kind of wonder about that, if that's not the reason he took the Alabama job, is maybe there just wasn't the resources at Washington to recruit, to pay the NIL money, to pay the kind of stuff to get the top guys. So he felt maybe it's best to capitalize on what I got now, go to this great opportunity at Alabama, which does have the money, the resources, the media attention, the legacy to get these kind of top recruits without having to do all this above and beyond.
Yeah, just to piggyback your note about that, I mean, you kind of just like said it. Like, Washington didn't have a whole lot of attention on them, so that tells me their brand name and brand strength is not as great as other top programs, right? So I think that also plays a factor in the recruiting stuff, and also plays a factor in the amount of NIL resources they have. Like, kind of, it's like a one like cycle, you know what I mean? So I don't think I don't think he's gonna struggle with recruiting at Bama. Bama is a strong brand name. It's Bama. Like, everyone knows Bama, So I don't think that now, things could go south fast if doesn't rise to expectations that Bama Nation has of him. That's
Mm-hmm.
for sure, right? But if he's still one of the top programs in the country and he's still getting guys to the league and whatnot, I don't see that as a struggle.
Yeah, and I do want to look up something real fast to include in this because there's one last aspect I want to take a look at for this. So, I mean, you also have to feel for Huskies fans. I mean, for the first time, it feels like in a while, they've been really relevant. They just had a run at the national championship after being doubted all year. They beat Oregon twice to beat, that's a really good program. Here you are in the national championship. In the last 72 hours, you've lost the national championship. Oh, and you lost your head coach. Oh, and now you're losing all your players that are transferring out to go follow him to Alabama or to wherever else. So it has to feel like kind of a kick in the balls to Washington fans. So I do want to address that aspect as well. It does really suck, but there are some great opportunities for Washington. This might not have to be a bad thing. For example, there's a coach in state who just was let go, who might be a fantastic replacement for Kalen. Could we see Pete Carroll return to college football?
That'd be wild.
That would be fucking wild. He's still excited about it. His reports were that he really wanted to still coach, and he just felt it was time to separate himself from the team and let them go in the direction they wanted to go. If you're Washington, if you're the new AD, do you give a call to Pete Carroll and be like, hey, Pete, if you still want to coach, we have an opening. We'd love to have you come coach up these, fine young men we have here.
That'd be crazy. That'd be a splash higher right there.
Oh yeah,
I could see him doing it.
Yeah, and if they don't want to do that, you still have Ryan Grubb, who was the offensive coordinator there. He's a fantastic story in himself, and we'll have to do a video on that at some point. But they were kind of talking. I think it was during the national championship at the time. I believe he was homeless at one point. Was given an opportunity to go be a coach with Kalen at Sioux Falls because they had graduated together, and he called him, was like, hey man, you want this opportunity to be an assistant? He said, sure. And he's just really risen to the occasion. He's now worth millions of dollars as this top flight offensive coordinator in the country. So really cool story. We'll get into at some point. That's wild. You have him there. You could promote him to head coach if he doesn't, want to go chase Alabama. So it could be a great opportunity for him to keep him and then keep a little bit of that same continuity. So there's still options available for Washington to not have to feel like they've lost everything. So I did at least want to address it. But that does obviously kind of segue us into our next point of Pete Carroll is stepping down as the head coach for the Seattle Seahawks. It wasn't really alluded to, or it was kind of alluded to that this maybe wasn't a mutual parting. It wasn't a matter of Pete Carroll going, yeah, I'm done with coaching, and the Seahawks going, yeah, we're done with you anyway. So it seemed like Pete was in his remarks at the end of the season where I'm happy to be here next year. I'm excited, looking forward to it. So I'm kind of curious what your thoughts are. Do you think this was a mutual parting, or do you think it was kind of like, hey, Pete, we're going in a different direction?
I think it was definitely forced. I think so. Pete still wants to coach. You know what I mean? And I don't think he was like, yeah, hey, I'm done here, and the Seahawks, whatever. Like, oh yeah, it's cool. Like, no, I think it was definitely forced. This is crazy. I know he's getting up there in age. Well, he's like 72, 73 ish.
I think he's 72.
Yeah. And it did have like a down year, I guess. Like they didn't make the playoffs or anything like that. But I definitely think it was forced.
Yeah, again, I still think that'd be a fantastic hire for Washington to give him a call and be like, hey man, the only concern I'd have for Washington is how long does Pete actually want to keep coaching? Because if you bring him in and then he's like, 3 years later, okay, I'm done. Well, then it kind of feels a little bit like a waste unless he's kind of maybe grooming his replacement as offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator, whatever, assistant head coach who can then just step into him for whenever he's ready to walk away. But that would be my only concern as Washington.
Yeah, same here.
Moving on. Speaking of legends that are walking away from the game, we lost so much football legacy this week.
Sad.
The Patriots and Bill Belichick are parting ways. So Bill Belichick is not decidedly retiring, but it was a mutual agreement of maybe this is best to go the separate ways. And apparently it was written into Jared Mayo, he was the linebackers coach, was he the defensive coordinator? I think he's defensive coordinator. It was written into his contract that should Bill Belichick step away, he would automatically become the successor to Bill Belichick and become the head coach of the Patriots. So he's already been announced as the new head coach of the New England Patriots.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I think the reason this decision kind of happened now is I think the Patriots wanted to make a change. They wanted someone younger, fresher, new ideas kind of thing. And I think Bill Belichick's really just chasing Don Shula's wins record. So he's going to want to go somewhere that's already pretty well established and play coach the next 3 years, get that record, and then walk away. So let me ask you, B, where do you think Bill lands?
That's crazy because, like, I know he's chasing the record. So you can't go to a team that's like completely like crap. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you can't go, in my opinion, to like the Panthers. Too much work needs to be done there, which we will get into later. So I think either like the Falcons are kind of in win now mode. And then maybe the Titans, maybe. I know they had a down year this year, but again, like it's not like a complete ass of a roster. There's still some pieces there. So I would say like probably like Falcons, probably my top choice. Because he is like 15 wins away from surpassing Don Shula, right?
Yeah.
So if you're a GM or VP of football ops or whatever, you're not giving him like a 5-year deal. You're probably giving him what, 2 to 3 year deal.
Yeah.
He's like almost 80.
He's 71.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess I was way off. Sorry, Bill. So he's 71. He's like, damn, you just gave me like 10 more years.
This man's near death anyway, so we might as well just put him in the coffin now. Jeez, he's younger than Nick Saban and
his ass look old too.
Pete Carroll.
They all look old.
Yeah, but that's what happens. So the way it works is as time moves on, the skin deteriorates. Yeah, anyway.
Are you sure? Are you sure?
Pretty sure. I'm pretty sure the crow's feet coming in for me is telling me that's what's happening.
But anyway, going back to the point, I mean, you're probably giving him at most a 3-year deal, even though he is 71. Yeah. You're not giving him a 5-year deal, right? So he has to get 15 wins over the next 3 years to become the all-time winningest coach.
Yeah.
So Falcons maybe.
So just to piggyback off what you're saying, I agree with all what you're saying. It has to go to a team that's well established. It's a 3-year deal max. But the other thing on the other end, what team is going to make this opportunity? You have to be a team that's desperate for a Super Bowl. You're desperate you just need a coaching change, and that's going to push you over the top. And I know the popular pick right now is the Falcons. I might throw out the Seahawks as well because they maybe want another established coach. But why would you fire a 72-year-old to hire a youthful 71-year-old? So that really doesn't make sense. I'm going to throw out a surprise pick, and it's been rumored, so it's not like I've conjured this up on my own. It's been rumored there's a playoff team that could potentially make a change at head coach if they don't find success in the playoffs this year. Could Bill Belichick be the new head coach of the Dallas Cowboys come Monday if they lose to the Green Bay Packers? A team that's already well established, but it's got a head coach that makes terrible in-game decisions. A guy that's reputable. It's a good roster, top 4 roster in the NFL. Or could he become the new head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles?
I think that Cowboys is probably more likely than the Eagles, but I don't want to put it past me. But I mean, yeah, I definitely agree. Cowboys lose against the Packers. McCarthy's gone. I don't know if Bill will be the next head coach, but I think we could all agree that McCarthy's probably gonna get fired if he gets upset by the Packers.
Oh yeah. So I don't know. I feel like to me that would be one of the 2 picks I'd go. It's one of those teams that feels like they need a coaching change to really push them over the edge to get them to the Super Bowl, win the Super Bowl, whatever their thoughts might be. And I've already seen there's a little bit of a gossip mill going around about Nick Sirianni potentially being out if the Eagles flail this weekend against Tampa. There's always some rumors about the Cowboys being out on Mike McCarthy if they don't make a deep playoff run, if they don't make it to the NFC Championship game. So I'd be curious to see what happens in the next coming weeks with Bill Belichick. Moving on from that conversation to another surprise firing. Mike Vrabel was surprisingly fired by the Tennessee Titans. He's a coach that has a lot of respect. He's done well there, aside from since A.J. Brown was traded. There's been a little bit of instability there in that regard, because he, again, was very opposed to that decision. And this year, they kind of seemed like they were going in a weird direction between wanting to make a youthful change, like switching to Will Levis and playing Tajay Sharp a lot more, and winning it all and trying to make a deep playoff run by bringing in DeAndre Hopkins and retaining Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry. So it's been a weird split, and I think this is where they comes from. The GM wanted to go young, the head coach wanted to keep competing. And there was a little bit of a rumor that part of the reason he was fired was how he handled being inducted into the Patriots Hall of Fame or Ring of Honor. The belief was that Vrabel had kind of stated in his speech that he would love to go back and be the Patriots coach someday, which kind of made the Titans feel like, hey, feel like a wife whose husband just said, hey, I'm going to trade you in for a younger model when I can. So the Titans made the first move and said, fuck it, we're done with you. You can go chase that Patriots opportunity that you want. Problem for him is the Patriots had a boyfriend already. The Patriots were already in a happy relationship. They are seeing Jared Mayo. So now Vrabel was left with no wife and no girlfriend.
He ain't getting nothing, huh? Nothing.
He ain't got nothing. He's going to be going on fucking, what's that? I can't remember. It's been a while since I've been single. What's that app now? You slide on it?
I mean,
Tinder.
Which one? There's like 5. Like
he's gonna be on Tinder, Hinder, Christian Mingle, and Bumble. He's gonna be on all of them.
Farmers Only. Fuck it.
He'll be on Farmers Only trying to find.
Well, I guess that makes a lot of sense, because I was super shocked when I saw that pop up. That's why I was shaking my head at the beginning of like what you're, telling the news. Because I'm like, why would you get rid of Vrabel? Like, he's like, come on, it's Vrabel. Come on. But I guess it kind of makes sense if they're bitter about his comments during, a fucking speech. Okay, I guess. Okay.
Yeah,
but
I think they
go ahead.
So I think initially they were kind of feeling like, hey, if you want to go be on the Patriots, like, we're not going to sit here and hold you to it. Go be on the fucking Patriots. We got a new GM that wants to pick their own head coach anyway. So I think the only thing I kind of disagree with the move about is that the owner didn't want to wait to make a trade to the Patriots, was allegedly the story at the time. Didn't want to wait to make a trade to the Patriots, so they just let Vrabel go so he can find his opportunity. Only for it to automatically be fucking Jared Mayo anyway. Holy, could you? It's hard not to. I'm sorry. I know it's hard not to hear. Like, you imagine going to your wife and be like, honey, there's this girl at the office. She's really hot, and I think there's a chemistry there. I'm sorry, but I think I want to go pursue her. And her going, you know what? I'm not going to hold you here. I'll file the divorce papers. You can go be with that girl if that's what you really want to be. It's going to make you happy. Only for him to go to the office the next day and her to go, oh, no, we're just work friends. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize you're my work husband. My real husband's over. Like, he's no.
Yeah. Yeah. If that is true, he did not play that well at fucking all, dude.
Fuck, he didn't.
He screwed himself over.
Holy shit. Now, here's a question I have to ask you. Where do you think he lands? See, you struck out with the mistress. You struck out with the wife now. Who is the new girl? Who is the new hot thing on the street that's going to take this guy?
I mean, who else is there? So there's, so the Patriots are done. Washington's open.
Could he be
Seattle's
the new coach
open.
of the Panthers?
Well, I say Panthers are open.
He could be. We'll talk about that later, but he could be.
They already say the Raiders. Raiders are still open because they're playing around
Raiders
with
still open.
Antonio
Oh,
Pierce.
God.
Maybe there is a playoff team right now that ended up firing their coach at the end of the season. But, I mean, who else really is that? I mean, maybe the Panthers, I guess.
I hate the way you just worded that made me have this epiphany of I didn't realize how much being a head coach was like being in a marriage. Well, they're playing around with Antonio Pierce. Will they? Won't they? They keep saying, "Hey, this isn't just a one-night stand," but they won't put a ring on it. They're not going to commit.
Exactly.
They're going to say, "Hey, leave. Hey, Antonio, you can leave your toothbrush here." So what's going on? What's it? What is it, Raiders? Is this for real or not? What the fuck?
It's so true though. They really are just like dating AP, but they're like, "Listen, I'm not ready to commit to you. So go ahead and go date other people." He has an interview with who the Titans. Actually, he's expected to go interview with the Titans. So it's like, I guess they're gonna do a swap. I would maybe say it like Raiders. I can see a variable go into Vegas.
Can you imagine a couple that are going through divorce? They just swaps. I'm sorry. I hate to keep bringing up this whole relationship. I just didn't realize fucking the NFL is NFL is a fucking daytime drama now. This is fucking really Vampire Diaries out here. What the fuck is going on?
It really
what are we
is,
doing,
man.
people?
Wild times, man.
Holy fuck. We used to stand for something. Just to be a society. We're just out here kind of half dating. We're trading wives for mistresses, only for the mistress not to be there. This is like Desperate Housewives. Holy fucking shit, dude.
That's so funny.
What the fuck, man? I'm not sure when I get to the rest of these. Oh. Speaking of relationships, the Falcons have fired Arthur Smith and finally got out of that toxic relationship. Talking about a guy that was overcompensating.
The funniest thing about that too is like just as the clock struck Monday morning Eastern time zone, they announced that he was fired. Like it was one of those like marriages that they didn't wait to like divorce. Like, listen, the papers are already signed. You're out of here.
It's not even like a marriage divorce. That's like hey, we're kind of over, but we've already booked this trip to Cabo, so we should just go. But like when we get back, it'll be over. Everything's like the hotel's already paid for. Like so, like we're not gonna get that money back. So we might as well just go. But like once we land back in where we're from, like this is over.
It wasn't even when they landed. It was the airport to like depart from Cabo. Like it was as soon as we got to the airport to leave Cabo, we're
come back.
Done.
Yeah. Yeah, we're done.
Because as soon as like I remember it being like, it would have been like 11:05 Central. I got that ESPN alert. Arthur Smith has been fired. I'm like, damn, dude. Like they did not wait. Duke could not wait to fire him, man.
What is this? The fucking Bachelor now? Holy shit! I really want them to just turn this into like a fucking dating show just to make a joke out of it. Like who's getting roses as the coaches and who's not, kind of thing. Big Brother kind of shit.
Right.
You could really take this whole fucking premise and just turn it into a fucking 6 p.m. drama for Housewives.
So we have like a Love is Blind, like that Netflix show, but have it with NFL owners and head coaches, and like they just talk through like a wall. Hey, tell me about the X's and O's of what you would do with this type of player. Oh yeah, I love this guy.
Tell me if you ever made a speech about the former person you were with and how you would immediately become their coach if they were available. Have you ever done that before? What the fuck is going on?
Down on one knee. Will you be the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders? Here we go. Netflix, call us.
Oh,
come on.
Fuck. Dude.
Oh god.
You want to talk about securing a new audience? That's how you fucking do it. That's how you do it.
I think I would stop being like a fan at that point. I'd be like, listen, I can't do this anymore. I'm taking my talents over to like baseball or something. Like, I can't do football anymore.
You do it, then you go see what the kind of fuckery it's happening in baseball's free agency and go, you know what? Maybe this whole like dating coaching thing's okay. I can put up with that.
Right.
We can fire off the last couple ones of these. The Commanders have fired Ron Rivera. They figured out he's just not going to put a ring on it. He's just one of those guys. He's going to date you for 7 years, but never really going to commit.
Yep.
The Bears are going to retain Matt Eberflus. They can't just see how this guy's not right for them, but it is what it is. But they fired his offensive staff. He swears he's going to change, but then he never does.
Brian Poles, he said he's the man for him through the ups and downs. So hey, loyal.
I know. Jesus, fuck Christ. Hate all this. Hate it. double hates. Kind of love it, but then double hate it again. Oh, you want to speak about daytime fucking drama? Since we're now on this goddamn topic, the defensive coordinator for the Giants, Wink Martindale, has resigned from the Giants, which would make sense. Like, yeah, he just resigned. No. This asshole didn't just go, oh, hey guys, I'm not going to be here. He literally went in and announced it, just like, by the way, guys, come Monday, I'm going to be in Florida. To which the team said, and he announced it to the media, to which the team then said, we weren't told about this. As far as we know, he's still our defensive coordinator. Then the next day they met, and he said, no, fuck you guys. Fuck that fat, bald motherfucker. I'm not coaching with him. Threw his shit, booked a flight to Florida, and left.
He's like, went back. I said what I meant. That's not,
he's like, no, that wasn't a suggestion. I'm not thinking of stepping away from this position. He said, fuck you guys. Fuck that big-headed bald bitch over there who can't grow hair. I'm taking my talents back home to Florida. I got gators I could be playing with. I don't need this shit. And he left.
That's
he just
funny
left.
As hell. His nickname is Wink. Like, what else do we expect of a guy who goes by Wink? He means what he fucking says. Don't play around with my guy Wink. When he's going to Florida and he's done, he is done.
So you realize Wink Martindale was actually a DJ, like a radio personality DJ. He was best known for hosting Gambit from 1972 to 1976, Tic Tac Doe from 78 75. So he used to like do game shows and shit like that too. So he used to be like a really big name. And the only reason I know that is because my mom was watching the game and they mentioned, oh yeah, this is Wink Martindale. And she said, shut the fuck up. There's no goddamn way that's his real name. Because it's a reference to this guy named Wink Martindale who used to be a game show host.
That's funny.
So okay, his actual name is Don. But so he's definitely got a TV personality. He's the Steve Harvey of defensive coordinators. They said, you're not leaving. He laughed his ass off with his big ass mustache and crawled off stage.
I would say he probably was funny as hell in like meetings though, like defensive meetings with like the unit. I bet he was funny as hell.
Fuck. Oh
probably
yeah.
One of those couches, one of those coaches that had to just dying for like no reason.
Dude, I can tell you right now, he is unhinged in a meeting. For those of you that don't know, like you didn't play the game or whatever it was, usually offensive coordinators are like super technical So we're looking at here is you're going to do this, you're going to do that, we're going to drop here and whatever. Then your defensive coordinators are just fucking unhinged. So here we have Tyshawn at linebacker being a dumb fuck. I don't know what the fuck you're reading, son. The play's not even going that way. You're reading the right guard who just flipped you off. So you're just being an asshole. You just need space. And they just kind of say that kind of shit. There's no coaching point to that. There's nothing you're learning. He's just ripping into you for 20 minutes and everyone else is just laughing their ass off. Mm-hmm. That's the kind of guy he is.
I guarantee Wink was like that. I guarantee he like probably talk shit to his like players too. Like kind of like razz him a little bit. Oh, you're wearing those shoes today. We're like those like Goodwill shoes. You know what I mean? So like he's seen the type of guy. It's like super
and he's
funny.
He's definitely making some comments that are maybe not HR appropriate. You already know he's calling you things that you're like, I don't think you can say that anymore, coach. It's not 1993. It's not 1970 or 1940 anymore. He's like, it's whatever.
Like, it's all right. I love you, son. All right.
Love you, son. You're not my father. Well, you never know. I partied in the 60s.
Yeah, that's not what your mother said. Okay, guy.
Okay. All right, Coach Wade, get the fuck out of here. Yeah, you can already tell he's one of those guys. Like any coach that cusses out the head coach and says fucking and buys his flight home to Florida, he's for surely one of those kind of guys.
That's so funny.
Moving on to the last little bits here. So the Panthers did fire their GM Scott Fritter. They have not announced a new GM. We will announce a new GM for them in our segment coming up a little bit later. Stick around for that. Find out who we picked. Obviously, it wasn't Adam Peters because he's no longer an option, but it might surprise you. It might be a name you've never heard of before. Last thing I want to touch on, the All Pros were announced today. So, I was kind of curious for those that can't see it. You guys can check out our Twitter page. We did share it today. You can see the first team, second team announcements. I'm curious on your thoughts. Who's the biggest snub to you?
So, I mean, I looked at both the first team and second team, and I thought they did a pretty good job picking the players, which I guess that's like their fucking jobs. Like it's kind of makes sense, you know.
Sure.
But I did have a couple of notes here that like between the second team and first team selections, I do want to nitpick that just a little bit. Jalen Johnson. And I know PFF grades aren't the end all be all, whatever. But he was the highest graded corner this year by PFF. And one thing I want to note too, okay, not a knock on Sauce Gardner, okay, dude played really good ball this year. PFF graded him as the third best corner, but the dude had 0 picks. Like for me, like how does a guy have 0 turnovers but still get first team corner over a guy who was arguably playing the best ball of his career of the season? He was graded the highest corner this season. It has 4 interceptions, right? That's something I want to nitpick a little bit. Like, how does Jalen Johnson's second team to Sauce Gardner being first team when Jalen Johnson has 4 picks. Sauce Gardner has 0. And I understand picks are not the end all be all, but like 0, 0, nil, none. Come on, man.
So
Go
just
ahead.
to quickly piggyback on that, Asante Samuel Jr. actually was coming at Sauce Gardner's neck for that too.
Yo, yeah, I did. I did see that tweet. He's like, hey, there should be some sort of standard. Like, you have to get at least like 1 pick to be like first team All Pro, which I kind of get. I kind of get it. Like, bro, like how if you were Jalen Johnson, you're like, bro, how did you get 0 picks, get first team over me? Like, how do you even answer that? Like, you know what I mean? It's wild.
Yeah.
Another thing I want to point out again, like I don't think maybe he could have been a second team because he did struggle in the first part of the season. But you know who was actually the highest graded quarterback this season? According to PFF, his answer might actually shock you a little bit. Josh Allen. He also, I think, then he also had the most total touchdowns too this season.
He did.
So okay, so they gave first team to Lamar, which makes sense. Okay, he's probably going to be the MVP possibly. So they probably gave him first team, whatever. It's kind of how it fucking goes. The second team was Dak, so they both had good seasons. So I'm not saying like Josh Allen could have been over Dak or Lamar, but it kind of makes you kind of think about it a little bit more. A quarterback who was the highest graded in terms of PFF, again, that's different than the whole NFL and people who pick their players, whatever. But he also had the most touchdowns too.
Yeah, I wonder how much the turnovers played a role into that. Like, because I think
Same
he also
here.
didn't he lead the
Yep.
league in turnovers as well, fumbles and interceptions.
Probably he was giving that shit away, bro. Like you get a fumble, you
Oh,
get a pick, you get a
oh,
fumble.
real quick, I got a quick story about that too. So my sister has gotten a lot more involved in football this year. She's more interested in, and for whatever reason, she loves the 49ers. Like that's her team, but her like secondary team is the Bills. Like she's really enjoyed it. She thinks that they play a fun way. Josh Allen's like a golden retriever, she says. So she's really into. So when the Dolphins and Bills were playing, right on kickoff, I looked her dead in the face and I said, "What's the over under on Josh Allen throwing 2 picks today?" And she goes, "Shut the fuck up. He's not throwing 2 picks today. First drive, interception." I was like, "That's one." 2 drives later, second interception. She looks and goes, "Holy fucking shit, dude." I was like, "All right, I told you. What's the over under?"
Yep. Yeah, that's like the easiest bet. If you all bet, like, do like what Josh Allen throw a pick or like over 0.5 picks a game, hit that shit, bro. He's
Every
guaranteed a
time.
pick. He's
Oh yeah,
guaranteed a pick. It's
yeah.
funny as hell.
And he's still a great player. I'm not saying anything about that. It's just it was so funny. But I was like 2 picks, guarantee it. Sure as shit, 2 goddamn interceptions in that fucking. They still pulled out and won it. Fantastic win for them. Won in the division, but it was just a funny moment that you reminded me when you were mentioning his, or we were talking about the turnovers.
It's so damn funny. But the last point I want to make here, and again, guys, this is PFF. You guys probably yelling at me. Who cares about PFF grades? You're not the NFL football. Okay, whatever. But the center for the Lions, Frank
Ragnow.
yes. So he was the highest graded center in terms of PFF. He got second team, so he made it. He wasn't really necessarily snubbed. Um,
Mhm.
Jason Kelsey got first team over him.
Mhm.
He was the fourth highest rated center. So not even like top 2 or 3. He was the fourth, right? I'm not saying Kelsey's bad. He played good ball, but it makes you for me, when I looked at him, I'm like, did he get first team because of his name per se? Or what's really at play? Again, y'all could be yelling at me. I don't watch Jason Kelsey play. I don't watch Frank Ragnow play, whatever. But I was looking at this the stats and the grades and whatnot, and it kind of made me question that. Is it the name of the player? Did he actually deserve it?
So here's why I will counter to that point with, if it really was about the name, because I think there was another one that did. I think it was PFF's All Pros, or it was the Players All Pros, whatever it was. I think it was the Players All Pros. They had Travis Kelce voted as the highest ranked tight end, which
Those
if you've
assholes.
watched the season so far, you would definitely know he's not. There's only one tight end that went for over 1,000 yards this season, and that was George Kittle, who was not named an All Pro. In this, according to the league's All Pro listing, let's see, I
Laporta
think it
and
was
Kittle.
Laporta and Kittle. Very deserving for Laporta, second team rookie. He's broken every record set by Mike Ditka for the tight end. He's had a fantastic year. So if it was really name based, then you would assume Travis Kelce would be on this list over Sam Laporta. So for that, I am going to give them credibility and say that it's not going off of names. So maybe they just disagree with PFF's rankings, or maybe they just felt, I don't know, for whatever reason they felt Jason Kelce did have a great year.
Yeah, I
Was
mean, the
he?
point I'm trying to make is I'm not standing on the hill. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of
Yeah.
PFF is different than NFL. I trust the NFL people and whoever selects the first team. I'm just going through the names and thinking possibly, that kind of surprised me a little bit. Or hey, look at this. This kind of spark a little bit of,
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah. I did also like
But
their
I do
additions.
think I will die on the hill that I do think Jalen Johnson should have been first team. That's the one. I'm like, yeah, come on. 4 picks compared to 0.
Yeah, again, you can also make the argument. I mean, there's a lot of years that Darrelle Revis didn't have any interceptions because he wasn't being targeted. So again, I don't know corner play well enough to make a determination and say that. But I'm not going to dispute with you that Jalen Johnson absolutely had a fantastic year. And if they had named him first overall and switched him and Sauce Gardner, I don't think it would have been a terrible decision. I do like the fact that for the first time this year they did include, I know fullback is new, because before they didn't have fullback, it was just running back. So that's how Kyle Juszczyk was actually able to finally win his first All Pro.
That's pretty cool.
But I think they also newly included slot cornerback. So it's not just corner anymore, it's also slot cornerback, which is really cool to see, because there's a lot of great slot corners in the league that don't get the recognition they deserve because they're not one of the top outside corners. They're not locking down wide receiver ones, even though they're fantastic at what they're asked to do. So I thought that was really cool. Biggest snubs, I'm going to just put this out what people responded to us with. It may not be specifically what I agree with, but it's just what people put, and I want to at least bring that to light. Danielle Hunter was suggested as a snub. I do agree with that. He had a great season. I think he's top 5 in sacks. He's been a monster all year for that Vikings defense that is very much overachieved. One person mentioned that Jesse Bates should have been first team and not second team. Kind of nitpicking a little bit there, but Jesse Bates is a fantastic player. Derek Brown not being included absolutely is a fucking snub. I think he's the only, if I remember this correctly, he's the only D tackle in NFL history to have 100 tackles in a season. How do you leave that guy off the list? I mean, who did they even put on here for D tackles?
They have Aaron Donald, Chris Jones for first team. Justin, I'm gonna say his last name wrong. Madabuke from the Ravens.
Madabuke?
Yeah, and then Dexter Lawrence with the Giants.
See, again, I feel like Aaron Donald didn't really have that great of a year. I didn't hear his name too much. He didn't. I don't know. I don't know his stats. I didn't hear much about him. I know the 49ers played them. Yeah, that might be a brand new one. Early on, the 49ers played him. He didn't make too much noise against them. So the name of first team All Pro kind of seems based off name. Derek Brown definitely got snubbed there and deserved to be a first team All Pro for what he did. Christian Barmore, I believe that's the left tackle for the Vikings, right? Christian Barmore.
I can't even tell you.
Left tackle, Trent Williams. Left tackle. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. No, or is that Dershaw? It's Dershaw. So I'm going to have to look up who Christian Barmore is real quick. And then another vote for Derek Brown, who absolutely was snubbed. Something tells me Christian Barmore is an O lineman because I don't know his name off the top of my head.
Is that a D lineman?
He is the Patriots defensive tackle.
Like a 3-tech, I think?
Yeah, I think so. So looking up his stats here, I'm going to just quickly glance over this. He had 64 tackles, 8.5 sacks. It's pretty good for a D tackle.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. So I don't necessarily disagree with that decision. If you're going to include him on the list, then you also have to include Kobe Turner, the rookie from the Rams, who had 9 sacks and tied Aaron Donald's rookie record of 9 sacks for a defensive tackle as well. So those would be the snubs. So Kobe Turner is a snub for me if you're going to put Christian Barmore on there. But those are the people that respond to us and let us know who they felt were snubs. A couple extras on there, but at a certain point, you're just kind of repeating yourself. But you guys go down to the comment section and let us know what you think. Who was the biggest snub from All Pro? Let us know where some of these coaching positions are going to be filled. Is coaching just like dating? Is that all it is? It's just swipe right until you find one you like? Who are you giving a rose to? Give us a like and subscribe. We do this every week. We like to have fun. We always like to hear from you guys. We are going to move on. So we did not do like we said at the beginning, we did not do a turn on the spotlight segment. We just had to cut it for time. As you always see, if you're watching this, we're already about 33 minutes into this. So adding an extra 10 minutes for this just unfortunately was not in the books. Moving on to our NFL games of the week. Real quick, going to cover how we went last week. I know we picked all the same teams, right, B? How did we do? We were 2-1?
We went 2-1 with the Bears kind of failing us. Bears are going to bear. But we went 2-1. I think it's best record we ever went picking like the same like teams.
I know. And then the final week, there we go. I do want to call this about, and I don't know if anyone fully watches that segment, so maybe just be for us. So last week we did mention when we picked the same teams, well, we're either going to go 3-0 or 0-3. Statistically, that's not a fact. Statistically speaking, we could have gone 1-2, 2-1. We had a 25% chance of other, which we obviously did. So not a fact if we pick the same season, we're going to go 0-3 or 3-0. So
I don't think so. I think it's only 3-0, 0-3.
Which is worse because I'm pretty sure your job involves a lot of numbers, and the fact that we didn't catch that is not great, but that's okay.
No, it's fine.
Moving on to no, it's fine.
There's only 2 options. There's only 2 odds.
And data analytics is only 2 odds, all or nothing. We're got a very successful law firm. No, I was kidding. So moving on to the games for this week, we have all the playoff games we are going to discuss. So that is the wild card weekend: Browns versus Texans, Dolphins versus Chiefs, Bills versus Steelers, Packers versus Cowboys, Rams versus Lions, and Eagles versus Buccaneers on Monday to wrap up, finish out the weekend. So we are going to start off with, let's scroll back up here to my notes. Sorry, guys. Browns versus Texans. So this game will be in Houston. The Browns are favored by 1.5. ESPN predictor is giving the Browns a 50.5% chance of winning. And it's going to be 62 degrees and sunny. B, who are you taking and why?
I think I'm going to go with the upset and take the Texans. I do think the Browns it is a good matchup for the Browns. Defense is strong. I know that they just beat the Texans by 14 like 3 weeks ago, but that was also without CJ Stroud. And obviously CJ Stroud can make those around him better, but I think like the lack of offensive weapons kind of scare me against this Browns defense. The Browns defense is pretty sturdy, but we've been riding this Texans wave for the last stretch of this season. Some magic is going on. They're at home. first playoff game in like a while. So Texans, man.
Yeah, we actually nailed our selection for those that are been with us and kind of remember this. We did a can the Texans make the playoffs video, and in that video we actually did say and suggest that the Texans could actually win the AFC South. There is a path for them to do it, and we believed, at least I believed, that they were capable of doing it. Sure shit, lo and behold, here we go. Texans win the AFC South, and they are instead hosting a playoff game instead of having to travel for a playoff game. I think that does make a world of difference in this one. As you alluded to, the last time the Texans played the Browns this season, they did not have C.J. Stroud on the field. This time they will. That does make a huge difference. The Browns have also been very turnover prone this season, and especially under the Joe Flacco regime now that they've been under for the last, I think, 7 or 8 games. So I think they've had 13 turnovers in games he's played in. Not great for playoff football. And for those that are kind of concerned, well, the Texans coming without a whole lot of experience. They've got a rookie head coach. They've got a rookie quarterback. And D'Amico Ryans has been to the playoffs pretty much the majority of his coaching career that he's been with San Francisco. He was the defensive coordinator last postseason. He has experience coaching in the playoffs. It's not new to him. C.J. Stroud is not new to big games. He's played in big playoff games in college. I believe he played in a national championship game, or at least again another big college game. And he seems to shine best or to perform best when the lights shine brightest. Will Anderson's also been a monster this year. So for all those reasons that I kind of listed, I'm also going to be taking the Texans in this one. I think the Browns' fairy tale season comes to an end week 1 of the playoffs. Moving on to our next game, we have a battle of cold versus warm, Dolphins versus Chiefs. Tyreek coming back to where it all started. The game is going to be in Kansas City. The Chiefs are favored by 4. The ESPN predictor is giving the Chiefs a 52.6% chance of winning this game, and the weather is going to be a toasty -2 degrees. So it's going to be cold as fucking hell out there. B, who are you taking?
I'm going to take the Chiefs. Super cold. Dolphins going up north. I think it's going to be a battle of like the weather. I also just think the Chiefs are a slightly better team, like overall too. The Dolphins kind of been sliding the past couple weeks here. Not like the Chiefs haven't been playing awesome football either, but give me the Chiefs at home.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with you on this one. The only thing I think that does play maybe a surprise role in this with the weather is who's going to run the ball better, which the Dolphins have established this season that they can run the ball with Raheem Morris and David Etienne, I believe as they say his name. Sorry. So they have a good running back tandem, but Kansas City's defense has been lights out all season, and the Dolphins have struggled against big teams. Their only win coming against the Cowboys, who also struggles against big teams. Or good teams. So, and I just can't get the picture out of my head of last season when the Dolphins played the Bills up in Buffalo in that like snow game, and they playing Skylar Thompson and couldn't come away with the win. I feel like that still just got a bad taste in my mouth. So in this one, I'm going to take the Chiefs over the Dolphins as well. Hopefully they can prove me wrong. It'd be kind of cool to see the Dolphins win their first playoff game since I think the year 2000. But I have a feeling that the Chiefs win this one and then have to go play their first road playoff game under the Patrick Mahomes era. Moving on, we have another battle in the AFC. We have the Bills versus the Steelers. The game will be in Buffalo. The Bills are favored by 9.5. I think this is the biggest spread of all the playoff games. ESPN predictor is giving the Bills a 76.6% chance of winning. It's going to be 22 degrees and snowing in Buffalo. They're already asking people to come below the field for them willing to pay $20 an hour and feed people. That's how bad it is over there right now. So, B, who are you taking and why?
Yeah, I honestly didn't think about this game much like a lot because, like you said, Bills are heavy favorites. Even on the road and the home team getting a 3-point buffer, they're still about 10-point favorites on the road, which is crazy. Wait, are they?
The game's in Buffalo,
home, right? They're in Buffalo. Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. Sorry, I saw this as Bills Steelers. I thought they were on like the road. Sorry. So they're home, which even more of a factor, I guess. They're at home. playoff game. Yeah, I mean, I know that Gabe Davis is out, but I don't think it'd be that big of a factor. Kind of seems like the run game for the Bills has kind of turned on to the past month of the season. So, Bills, man.
So I'm right there with you, man. So I'm going to be taking the Bills in this one too. They just seem like the better team. Steelers are down a quarterback. Not even starting quarterback. They don't have a quarterback. You're going on the road playing the icy storm. The only thing, again, that's going for them is it's going to be in a bad weather game. They do have a good run game with Najee Harris and Jalen Warren. But at the same time, the Bills have a good running game behind Jordan James Cook. James Cook. Okay, my memory did serve me right. There we go. The old noggin still works. Even with Gabe Davis out, I don't think it plays a whole lot of role into it. You still have Dawson Knox. You still have Stephon Diggs, and I don't think this is going to be a big passing game anyway. So with that, I'm going to take the Bills in this one. Moving on to what may have the biggest coaching implications of the weekend. The Packers versus the Cowboys. The game's going to be in Dallas. The Cowboys are favored by 7. ESPN predictor is giving the Cowboys a 73.6% chance of winning. It will be in a dome. Mind you, Coach McCarthy might be coaching for his career here.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, I think this is prime upset territory for the Cowboys, but like, I'm trusting the data numbers behind this. Cowboys are at home. They've been tough at home all year. I think the Packers are like an underrated threat to them. A lot of like, I saw on Twitter, a lot of people like, oh no, Cowboys gonna win easy. I'm like, yeah, hold on. This could be like one of those games that like the Cowboys just don't play well, right? And the Packers come ready, and the Packers really have nothing to really lose, right? The Cowboys have everything to lose, right? After winning the East this year, and like people are building them up, like this could be the year you guys can make a deep playoff run. But I am going to give them the benefit of the doubt. They are playing at home. Again, they've been tough at home all year, like all season. Packers defense still can be wishy-washy, and we know the Cowboys offense has so many threats. So give me the Cowboys.
Yeah, I mean, you got the legacy game going to this one. Mike LaFleur did replace Mike McCarthy as the head coach of the Packers. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of emotion going to this one for Mike McCarthy as well. He feels like feels like he was kicked out of Green Bay. I do think the Cowboys win this, but I'm always hesitant because I've noticed this season fans, they don't get enough credit as they should. They have a pulse on their team, and every time I've seen come across Twitter or X, and the fan base is like, hey, I feel really good about this game. I feel really good about this game. I don't know why, but I just feel good about this game. That's always when the upset seems to happen. And from what I can see, Packers seem to feel pretty good about this one. And for some reason, Cowboys fans seem a little bit uneasy for whatever, like they're having to boast more than they probably should. This should be a throwaway, not even think about a game like, what are we talking about here? But they're vehemently saying they should blow this team out. So I do think the Cowboys win because they've been monsters at home all season, but I don't think they cover the spread. I think it's a close game that the Cowboys pull out and makes Jerry Jones still have to sit here and question, is this the guy? One, if Bill Belichick's available. So give me the Cowboys in this one as well. Look at us being in sync with all these games so far.
Look at that.
Moving on, we got another game that's got a whole lot of history attached to it. The Rams will be taking on the Lions. For those who are unaware, because you live under a rock apparently, Matthew Stafford was traded from the Rams to the Lions for Jared Goff. They pretty much did a quarterback swap. Jared Goff has a feeling of being cast out for not being good enough, or not being able to be what the Rams were hoping he'd be. Matthew Stafford was gifted this golden opportunity finally after all those years of suffering in Detroit, being one of the highest paid quarterbacks in NFL history, to finally go win a ring and be in the playoffs. And the irony of all of it being is that Matthew Stafford was never able to get the Lions to the playoffs to have a home playoff game. And here he is now having to go to Detroit to face Jared Goff in Detroit, hosting a home playoff game for the Lions. B, who are you? I'm sorry, I forgot to run this down. The game will be in Detroit, like I just mentioned. The Lions are favored by 3, which isn't saying much considering the home team gets 3 anyway. The ESPN predictor is giving the Lions a 53.9% chance of winning. The game will be in a dome. B, who are you taking and why?
Yeah, I know that we've been in sync with our picks, but this might be where we differ. I like taking one upset team, and I think the Rams might get this upset. I like the whole storyline. I think the Rams have been playing. I mean, the Lions have been playing good ball too, obviously. But I think the Rams have really like kind of caught on fire last month here. They have a strong run game. They have Stafford, obviously. Like there's a whole storyline of him coming back and all that stuff. But he's playing pretty good ball right now too. The passing game looks well, and the defense looks to play pretty well right now too. So I'm gonna give the Rams on this one. I like having one upset pick, and I'm gonna pick that for the Rams.
Yeah, I'm gonna say my upset pick. I don't disagree with an upset pick, but I'm gonna take the Lions in this one. I think it just means more to them. They need a win in Detroit. They need this win, like they need to breathe. Just like they need to win the NFC North this year for the first time since its existence. I think Jared Goff really just wants to fucking stick it to the Rams. I think he really wants to stick it to Sean McVay. He'll say the pleasantries and the nice things all week and in the pregame, and I'm sure he'll even say the pleasantries in the postgame. But I know deep in his mind, he's saying, fuck these guys that gave up on me for no reason. I could have had a Super Bowl win. I could have been that team that won, the Super Bowl in LA for the Rams, and they traded me for no fucking reason. They cast me out to Detroit. Well, here I am. I've made this my home. I think he comes into this game with a vengeance, and I think he wants to run the score up on the Rams. While I'm not saying the Rams are a bad team. They've had a solid season. They've definitely had a really good second half. It's a little inflated with that last win against the 49ers, where pretty much all backups were played. They still were barely able to eke out a win, 21-20. I think it's just they're kind of reliant on a lot of young guys right now, and I think you get to a point where that brick wall kind of hits, and I think we're kind of getting to that point. So give me the Lions in this one. We're going to move on to our last game of Wild Card Weekend. This is a fun one. We have the Eagles taking on the Buccaneers. The game is going to be in Tampa. The Eagles are favored by 3 points. ESPN predictor is giving the Eagles a 57.3% chance of winning. It's going to be 66 degrees and raining because of fucking course it is in Florida. Pete, who are you taking and why?
I know I said like having at least one upset pick, but I'm gonna have two upset picks. I'm gonna pick the Bucks on this one. I think the Eagles have been playing this awful ball the past couple of weeks. Like they look totally like out of sync. I know there's a lot of drama going on with AJ Brown on Twitter, which could be just whatever, but like if there's something going on behind closed doors with the chemistry of the offense and maybe like the team, this is the worst time to have that. And I even been seeing tweets from like the fan base. I don't know if it's the Eagles fan base or just like sports Twitter, but like people are saying like maybe like Nick will get fired, like the head coach, if they don't win this game or something like that. Like some weird stuff is going on, like the weird vibes going on. Again, it could be just social media BS, but could be like true. And on the flip side, the Bucks have been playing pretty okay football past couple weeks. So I think this might be the final dagger in the Eagles season. I definitely don't think they'll win in blowout fashion. If they do win, I think it could be like that three-point spread that we saw. Because I don't have that much confidence in them to come out like how we saw them last season or beginning of this season, just like winning by double-digit points and whatnot. So I'm gonna take the Bucks at home and an upset over the Eagles.
Well, unlike you, I do only pick one upset. This will be my upset. I think the walls are finally starting to close in on the Eagles and Nick Sirianni specifically. There has been a couple reports suggesting that if Nick Sirianni doesn't win this game, he could be out. They have had just a disastrous second half. I mean, and I hate to really say it and attribute to this because it's kind of one of those things. But ever since that loss to the 49ers, they just have not been the same team. They really haven't. They look disjointed. They look disconnected. The locker room doesn't look like as fun as it's been. You're right about the A.J. Brown thing. It could be nothing. It could be something. No matter how you slice it, it's the wrong time to make a whole lot of noise. Not to mention, you also have Jalen Hurts' finger, which has been fucked up all week. He was a full participant in practice today, Friday, as we're recording. So hopefully that does suggest he could play or should play. Now, how healthy is he going to be in that game? I don't know. But they will be down. They will be banged up. So this could be the final nail in the coffin in the Nick Sirianni tenure if he doesn't win this game. Bill Belichick could come knocking on that door. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of what happens when you've been an asshole running your mouth and all of a sudden you can't back it up. Now all of a sudden you're just bad publicity that the team would rather get rid of anyway. You're a distraction. So we'll see how it goes. I'm picking the Buccaneers in that game. So we're pretty much all aligned all the way up and down the board, except for the Rams-Lions game. You're taking the Rams. I'm taking the Lions. I suspect for probably similar reasons that I don't think we realize until I'm going to point out subconsciously. I know what your text to me was when the Lions won the division wasn't very super supportive. So I think subconsciously, maybe you just can't bring yourself to support the Lions, and maybe subconsciously, I just can't bring it into myself to support an LA team. And maybe that's why our picks are what they are for that one. I'm really curious to see about that. We can have that discussion off camera later. But
I think it's more for you. I actually don't mind the Lions, but I do think that like I've seen times when teams get too high in their horses a little bit, and a team comes in that shouldn't win, and they like win. And I feel like this could be like a prime spot here.
Yeah, I know. Dan Campbell's one of those kind of guys. He's going to rally his dudes for any game, just like against that the Vikings. They didn't have to go in there and win that game, but they played their stars and they wanted to for surely go in and beat the shit out of the Vikings just to make a point. Which also is another factor that I don't think I forgot to bring up. Sam Laporta did get hurt in that game. Now there's a suggestion he could play this week, which would be a medical miracle. But more than likely he will be out, so they will be down one of their key weapons and one of the better tight ends in the league. So I mean, it's just interested to see how that plays a role into it. But that's our picks for the week. Why don't you guys head into the comment section? Let us know what you think. Who are you taking? Who's going to be your surprise upset for the week? Tell us. We'd love to hear it. While you're down there, give us a like, a subscribe. We do this every week. We love talking to you guys. With that, we are going to move on to our long-awaited segment, our Carolina Panthers rebuild, which we will come up with a better name post-production because that's a terrible name for a YouTube video. But we've kind of been doing this a little bit. I don't think we intentionally have been doing this, but we've kind of made this a running segment, this with the draft profiles. We've kind of been going through and rebuilding teams. So we might just have to remake this into a playlist for you guys and just rename it the RFL Business Consultants. We're here to fix your shitty team. We've already done one on the Chargers. We've already done one on the Bears. You guys can check those out. We are going to move on to the Panthers now. We're going to fix them. We're going to make them competitive in 2024. They will no longer be in contention for the number one pick. They will be on the verge of being a playoff team. I stand by that. I think once you hear the changes we make, you'll stand by that too. So starting off with the obvious things here, we need to make some hiring. There's been some firings going on there. So for me, I'm bringing in for the president of football operations, Samir Solomon. Again, I apologize if I miss saying that name, but he has been the VP for football administration for the Panthers for the last few years. Actually, I think he just got that promotion, but he's been with the program for a few years. He's handled the Panthers players negotiations, and he's managed the salary cap for a while. He's been around for about 25 years in the NFL. He's mostly been the contracts, player personnel kind of guy. That's a lot of his upbringing. I know he was trying to venture into scouting more, but it's just not his forte. So to pair with him, I'm going to bring in a general manager of Tariq Ahmad, who has 3 years as being the director of college scouting for the 49ers previously. He's actually expected to be the in-house replacement for Adam Peters, who was just named the Washington Commanders GM. So if you can get him before they even promote him, that'd be a fantastic hire, I feel like, for the Panthers. His whole history, going back to when he was working at Rutgers as a scout, has always been involved in scouting. He knows the scouting. The scouting circuit. He's been on it for a decade plus at this point. He's the guy you want. This kind of gives you your contract player negotiation guy. It gives you your draft kind of guy. Gives you a perfect blend on how you're going to want to build your team. Let me scroll up here. For next thing of the whole tree that we're trying to build here, head coach, we're going Ben Johnson. I'm paying whatever I got to pay to Ben Johnson to make him ignore every other offer and come to Carolina and coach Bryce Young and turn him into the star that we all know he can be. So he has been the Lions offensive coordinator for a few years. He's the hottest name in the head coaching hiring circuit. He comes with an innovative play calling. He's a fantastic play designer and play caller. He knows offense. To pair with him, we're bringing an offensive coordinator. I'm going to bring in Brian Griese. He is the current quarterback coach for the 49ers. Should be noticing a little bit of a trend here with former 49ers. If you want to be the best, you got to take from the best. He is a former player and quarterback himself in Tampa. He played a good role in developing Brock Purdy into being what he's been. He also helped turn around Sam Darnold, who in his start last week against the Rams looked a lot better than he has in years. He wasn't turnover prone, wasn't putting the ball in dangerous situations. He taught him a more effective way to play quarterback. For defensive coordinator, I know this has kind of been a hot topic for Panthers fans because they wanted to keep Ejiro Evero. I believe I'm saying that name wrong. They wanted to make him the head coach. Unfortunately, in this scenario, I was not able to make him the head coach. But I did retain him as the defensive coordinator. He was the defense coordinator last season. He allowed the fewest passing yards per game. He is a rising star at the position, and if you can keep him, I know the players love him. You absolutely have to. Quarterback, obviously, I'm sticking with Bryce Young, number 1 overall pick. You can't just move off that after 1 year. So that's kind of my coaching and front office hiring.
Yeah, I think I agree. I mean, I think the VP or the president of football ops makes sense. GM makes sense. Head coach Ben Johnson's on the circuit this upcoming market. He's the hottest name right now, or one of the hottest names. So that of course makes sense. And it makes sense that for DC and quarterback is Bryce Young. Yeah. I want to get your thoughts though on one name for offensive coordinator. And this might seem kind of like an unknown for many people, but I think once I say it, people are like, oh, okay, yeah, he's around. I didn't know he was actually around. So the Lions quarterback coach right now is Mark Brunell, and obviously he played in the league for many years. He's over there, coaching up Jared Goff, working with Ben Johnson right now. Do you think it'll be a viable option for Mark to come over as the OC if Ben Johnson is hired as the head coach for the Panthers?
So that would obviously be a fantastic hire. He's worked with Ben Johnson. He did really good work with Jared Goff. Jared Goff has kind of improved a lot since he's left the Rams. He's less turnover prone than he's been. The only, not even concern, I'd say, it's not the wrong word. I imagine the Lions will probably block that hire. They probably want to promote him to offense coordinator themselves, keep a little bit of that continuity going. I know the 49ers did a similar thing when Mike McDaniel left to be the Dolphins head coach. Him and Kyle Shanahan had kind of talked before and discussed, okay, these are the guys, these are the assistants you could take, these are the ones you can't. And they kind of hashed that out and worked it out. I imagine that's probably going to be a similar situation we see in this because again, if you're the Lions, you don't want to lose your offense coordinator and your quarterbacks coach. It's just not a great look. You're going to be in a shitty situation yourself. So that's the only hiccup I can see going wrong with that. That's why I say the Brian Griese thing. But if they're able to pull that off, if for some reason the Lions are okay with letting him go, that'd also be a fantastic hire.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Moving on to transactions. Currently, the Panthers have $40.4 million in cap space. Now, seems like a lot. When you really start breaking it down, it's not. We got to find a way to get more. First kind of steps we're going to do, I'm trading Adam Thielen. He's a great player. He had a great season for Carolina. There are too many wide receiver playoff needy teams that need a weapon, and he's aging. He wants to go chase a ring. I think it's only fair to let him go chase a ring. It also gets some money off the books. For this kind of scenario, although, again, might not be perfect, I am sending him to the Chiefs for a 4th-round pick. It's fair compensation. He's an older guy. Gives them what they want. Gives you a fair compensation back of a 4th-round pick. I'm also trading Dante Jackson, the corner, pretty much for whatever I can get for him post June 1st. I know he's kind of struggled since signing his extension with Carolina. He's one of the bigger contracts. You got to get off. He's not providing a whole lot. I think he only has a year or two left in it. But if you get more for him if you trade him post June 1st. So in this scenario, I am trading him to the Raiders for a 2025 fifth round pick. The Raiders need cornerback depth. It's not a whole lot to get back. It's a not this year, next year draft fifth round pick. So I think they'd probably be okay with doing that. That might even fall to a 6, depending. But that's probably where I would go with that. So in this post-trade cap space scenario, after trading Dante Jackson and Adam Thielen, I'm coming with $48.6 million. Moving on to restructures and releases. A couple guys I'm restructuring the contracts. Now, I will give this disclaimer now. I'm not a contract guy. I'm not going to go create 1,000 different scenarios with what we could do. The Panthers could add void years onto these contracts to spread out the signing bonuses further, give themselves more cap space. I'm not doing that. That's not what my job is. I did this all over on Spot Track, so it allows you to just do a basic restructure, which spreads the signing bonus over the course of the regular deal. So with that in mind, I restructured Taylor Morton, Von Bell, Hayden Hurst, Shai Tuttle, and Miles Sanders. That freed up a little bit of room. Again, with that, they don't need to agree to it. It doesn't affect how much they're getting. You can just make that kind of decision yourself. I also did release center Bradley Bozeman. He has not been worth the money he's been paid. He's 30. He's getting about $10 million a year. With all those restructures and the release of Bradley Bozeman, it freed up cap space and got me up to $69 million in available space right now. Moving on to free agency. Guys, I'm not going to go into the nitty-gritty details of the contracts that I signed. I will post this to Twitter. I'll post it on our Instagram. If you want to go see specifically what I re-signed these guys to, you can go check it there. I pretty much used the Spot Track projected contract as the baseline. I upped it. I think it was like $500,000 on some of them to kind of like the negotiating wiggle room kind of thing. But just a quick highlight of it. For current Panthers free agents, I'm re-signing Brian Burns. I re-signed Yetur Gross-Matos, Shaquille Griffin, Stephen Sullivan, and Troy Hill. The big note from that I did not re-sign was linebacker Frankie Louv. I apologize for missaying his last name. He is a good player. I'm not saying he's not. Problem I have with him, he's a B player, which is fine. But when you're a team that's already a little bit cap strapped, you can't be spending money on B players. You need to re-sign your blue bloods, and you need to replace those B players with draft picks. That's what we got to do. He's projected to get anywhere between 11 to 15 million. And unfortunately, if I do that, I don't have any money to re-sign anybody else. But here's the thing I know Panthers fans have been waiting for. If you're watching this, you're thinking to yourself, well, who the fuck is going to play receiver for us, guys? Come on, RFL, tell us. Do we get T. Higgins? Who is it? And I'm sorry to say we could not. I'm just kidding. Of course, I got T. fucking Higgins. I'm not going to come out of this without getting T. Higgins. I don't need the comments. We signed T. Higgins to a 3-year, $70 million deal, which ate up pretty much the majority of our remaining cap space. I also did bring in as a lower under-the-radar signature guard/center John Feliciano. He is on the 49ers. He's about 30, 31, I believe. Go look up his PFF grade. He's in mid-80s ranking. He has really come in and done a good job of stabilizing the right guard position, which has been struggling at the first half of the season. He's a good piece. He can either play center or guard for you. So it should help stabilize some of that interior there. After all of those moves, I'm down to about $8.5 million, which is fine. That leaves me just enough to sign my draft class. So,
yeah, I think all the signings make sense. And, I do want to throw another wrinkle out there. If you're a Panthers fan, you're most likely watching this, and you already know that the Panthers O-line kind of struggled last year. I saw on PFF that they ranked the Panthers O-line as a unit the 29th best O-line. So obviously, this work needs to be done there. I know you addressed some of that with releasing their current center, and then you sign someone for a pretty nice contract, pretty like cheap deal, but could be like value there. But another path they could take is kind of putting like a lot of money towards the O-line. And there's a right guard who currently plays for the Rams who is projected to be the best available guard by PFF in this year's free agent cycle, and that's right guard Kevin Dotson. Now, he is the best guard out there right now for this free agent cycle. So, players in free agency usually cost more. You have to pay like a premium there. He will, what PFF projects to cost around a 4-year, $69 million deal. So about $17.25 million per year. Again, maybe the cap space it's not there for them, but I just want to show another option they could take regarding O-line and spending money and whatnot.
Yeah, I just want to bounce off that as well. Pretty much what I was looking at, it came down to the decision of would I rather use my limited cap space to bring in a receiver or improve the O-line? I felt that there was enough wide receiver or O-line help in the draft, and there really wasn't any O-line help free agent-wise that I was comfortable with paying a lot of money to. In the real world, for example, that T. Higgins deal that we talked about, I signed him for, I think it was 3 or 4 years, $70 million, came out to about 23.5 a year. Now, that's how I have to do it for my note taking. In reality, you sign that deal, and in first year, T. Higgins is making 7.5, which opens up a lot of cap space for you to also get a guard. Again, obviously, I can't project that he's going to be okay doing that. So I gotta just go with what the average is and roll with it. So, but I also do want to include the Panthers do have currently $175 million for 2025. If they want to, they could aid into some of that by adding void years onto current players' contracts and spreading that signing bonus out over that as well. Or again, signing like a T. Higgins, first year it's a $5 million cap hit. The next year it's a $30 million cap hit because you have more money to eat up that year. So there's a lot of ways the Panthers could play with this and do it, which is what I'm now hoping our new president of football operations will be good enough to do. But I'm not going to do that for this segment because it's just going to convolute things and complicate things that may not actually happen. So with that, I'm going to move on with my $8.5 million in cap space, and I'm going to enter into the draft. I did factor in our 4th round pick that we got from Kansas City for Adam Thielen. I pulled these from Spot Track, so these are as accurate as they can be right now. Obviously, comp picks haven't come back. Playoffs haven't finished, so certain positions may vary, so bear with me on that. But quick rundown, we have our 2nd round pick, number 33, 3rd round pick, number 65, a 4th round pick that's projected to be pick number 101, a 4th round pick from Kansas City that's projected to be 131, a 5th round pick from Tennessee that's projected to be 150, a 5th round pick from San Francisco that's projected to be 158, and a 6th round pick from Arizona that is projected to be 178. Sorry to bore you with all those numbers. I just want to let you know where we're at and where we're picking. So for this portion, I went to PFF's big board. I kind of compared some guys' projected draft positions versus where they're currently ranked to kind of get a feel of where they might end up. So I don't have Marvin Harrison Jr. falling to the 2nd round. I didn't want that kind of a situation. I did also verify that most, if not all of these guys have declared for the draft already. So anyone I'm listing out here won't be a matter of, well, they didn't actually enter the draft, they went back to college. So with that in mind, the draft needs for the Carolina Panthers currently are wide receiver, left tackle, edge, and center. I tried doing a couple things in free agency to limit the needs so we could play around more freely, but I still want to attack those needs the best we can. So starting off with our 2nd round pick, this may be a little bit of an overdraft, but I think throughout the draft process, this guy's stock is going to rise. So it's better to get him early than to miss out on him later. I am taking Jackson Powers Johnson, the center from Oregon. He was PFF's number 1 ranked center based on his season. He also, I believe, I could be wrong about this, but from what I saw, he had only given up 1 sack or 3 sacks, whatever it was, in his entire college career. So I'm taking him in the 2nd round pick. That solidifies our center position, helps Bryce Young with that interior of the O-line, should give him more time to throw to guys. With the 3rd round pick, number 65, I went wide receiver. I took Jalen Polk, wide receiver from Washington, on PFS Big Boys 57. We kind of hope he's got to fall a couple spots, which isn't out of the realm of possibility. If not, Jalen McMillan should be there for us still as well. But I went Jalen Polk in this. He had a great season, 1,000 yards. He's one of the 3-headed monsters for Washington. He helps bring in a wide receiver too. I know we just drafted someone last year in Mingo, but he hasn't produced so far. Hopefully this will be the Robin to our new Batman and T. Higgins. Moving on from that, we got a 4th-round selection at 101. I went with Marshawn Nealon, the defensive end from from Western Michigan. This is a guy that averaged about 22 to 24 pressures a year at Western Michigan, which is solid numbers. He had a PFF grade of 86.5. We could start him off by using him as a situational pass rusher, and then as he develops over the years, maybe give him more run as a run. As a run stopper as well. I like his potential. I think he's 6'5", 275, so he's in that prototypical range. Moving on to our 4th round, the pick we got from Kansas City. We're using that to draft our tackle of the future in Javon Foster, the tackle from Missouri. He's got the prototypical left tackle build. I believe he's 6'7", 305. Very agile. Sometimes gets beat a little bit quickly, but if we can kind of keep Ekwam currently where he's at, I would like him to compete for the guard spot, but if he doesn't win it, we can start him off at left tackle. And then as the season goes on, as Javon's developing, maybe he'll replace him. Hopefully he won't have to do it in the first season, but if he needs to, I do feel confident he's a guy that could step in. First, 5th-round pick from Tennessee, pick number 150. Ben Sinnott, the tight end out of K-State. He's not your inline blocker kind of guy. He's more one of those move tight ends. Travis Kelce's a little undersized. He's a really good route runner. He's quick. He's fast. He runs good routes. He's just going to be another weapon for Bryce Young. If we're having to rely on him to block, we've done something wrong. We can find blocking tight ends somewhere else. The dime a dozen. I want a guy that's going to be able to be a playmaker for us out there. Our other 5th-round pick from San Francisco, pick number 158. I went with Anais Smith, wide receiver at Texas A&M. A little bit undersized, 5'10" kind of guy. We actually found him when we were doing our Xavier Legette video. They played Texas A&M, and he just kind of popped off screen to me. He's fast. He's quick. He's great in and out of breaks. He's a good route runner, and they actually use him a little bit as a running back as well. So he's multi-versatile in his position. You can use him as a kick returner. You could have him line up in the backfield for us like a scat back kind of role, put him in the slot. You can do a lot of cool little weapons with him, which I trust Ben Johnson to do, especially with his success with Amon-Ra St. Brown. I expect him to kind of be one of those under the radar kind of guys, under the radar. For our 6th-round pick, I did initially have Brian Ajuwu, the defensive end from Miami, Ohio, but he hadn't declared yet, so I did switch it based on my own rules. I went with Brendyn Jackson, the defensive end out of Washington State. He's another guy. He's 6'5". He's 290. He's a little bit of a tweener kind of guy. He could be a D tackle, could be a D end. I wouldn't mind kicking him in on pass rushing situations. He's fast. He's quick. I think he had an 80-plus yard fumble recovery earlier in the year. He's got a high motor. He's a good character kind of guy. He's someone you want to have in your locker room. He could play on special teams as well. So that would round out my draft. I've kind of attacked all the needs. We have our center of the future. We brought our wide receiver 2. We brought our little scat back playmaker kind of receiver, a couple different defensive ends, and we have another playmaker at tight end now, and potentially our tackle of the future.
I think you addressed all the gaps there, the holes there. Well, man, for sure.
Yeah, it took a while to try to find okay, when are these guys going to be available? What are they projected to be? Who's actually declaring? It was really fun and enjoyable, but it'd be interesting to see how these guys' careers actually do pan out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's how I rebuild the Panthers. We would have a new solidified O-line. We can keep Ikanu. I know I'm missaying his name. I apologize. The tackle out of NC State going to his 3rd year, who had an okay year. I know Panthers fans weren't a fan of it. He can still start a tackle for now, with eventually Foster may be able to take over that role, him kicking inside the guard. I know we still have Colette, who is on IR, coming back with the addition of John Feliciano, as well as Jackson Power Smith Johnson. We're going to have a little bit of a competition between the guard center guard spots to see who is going to come out on top. There's also Christian Bradshaw as well, and the right guard they drafted last year as well will be in the mix. Again, I apologize for getting his name. We're clearly looking at a lot of names to try to figure out who's going to be available where. The point is I want to take the interior line. I want to take those 5-6 guys, and I want to let them battle out for who's going to be the best at the position and give Bryce, the protection that he needs. We got him a couple new weapons. We're really revamping the offense and bringing in a couple depth pieces on the defensive line that could be pass rushers to help solidify that defensive line.
And E, I don't want to steal your thunder here, but guys, if you're a Panthers fan, you watch this entire segment, go ahead and give us a like here and sub to us, please. Emmett put a lot of time towards this. I mean, I don't even know 90% of the names in this like entire breakdown, and so he put a lot of man hours towards like the research. And I know a Panthers fan out there has to appreciate the effort here, and maybe he'll learn a thing or two about his or her own favorite team too. So please give us a like and a sub just off his own effort here. And if you are a Panthers fan, tell us like what you think of the breakdown. Did we miss a name? Do you think maybe they should keep a certain player? Whatever. But dude, shout out to you, man. You put a lot of work towards this like breakdown here.
Thank you. Honestly, I love doing this kind of thing. I love helping rebuild a team. Yeah, like B said, if you guys like what we do here, we do this every week, and we really enjoy, especially these kind of player breakdowns. But like B said, let us know if there's someone that we should resign that we didn't. But we're gonna sign off here. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in with us. We're the RFL Show. You guys can find us on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, X, Spotify. Until next time, it's been Emmett. It's been B. You guys have a great night, okay?